I'm in my second childhood anyway. No, even me breath is coming in short pants. I had an American in the other day, and he got the girl of many gifts and so on. And I says, I was telling him a wee bit of Irish, like slán and that. But I said, the most important thing about the Irish is our national characteristics. Americans are technological, and the French are romantic, and the Sicilians are good haters, and the Germans are frugal and industrious. We're resentful and begrudging. That's our secret weapon.
Yeah.
Works. It works. So, and I was saying, you can forget about slán and all that sort of thing. We're grand, Anytime anybody asks you, I'm grand. And I told them about the end of Spartacus, At the end of Spartacus, I'm Spartacus. And the Irish extra says, I'm grand. He thought I was an idiot. He knew I was an idiot.
Yes.
My mother knew I was an Amadon. My mother, my granny on her side was obviously a Gaelic speaker. But of course, at the beginning of the 20th century, it was useless and a bit low class to be speaking Irish. So my mother never learned Irish properly. She had several phrases picked up from my granny, and she used them unconsciously. Now, when she couldn't think of an English phrase or a word, which was very seldom, she was extremely articulate. Michael, your best isn't good enough. And then when she wanted to run down somebody that thought they knew everything, what can he know of England that only England knows? Well, yeah, she was very... My dad was just as sharp as her, but much quieter, If he was feeling a bit low, now is the winter of our discontent. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, she had several Irish words that have no synonym in English. Budadaw, an Amadon, a Lutherman, a Clusan, a Noanchuck is a female fool. We have lots of terms, and they're terms of endearment, He's only a gobshite,
Yeah.
But Budadaw,
Never heard of Budadaw.
Budadaw, that means a dangerous fool. Buddock is a bully, and a daw is a fool. A Budadaw, like, was ruling in America there for a while, and a few of them over in England too. The most dangerous enemy to have. You can't outthink them.
Yes.
They don't think. They'll come at you from left field always. Budadaw, yeah. My wife is from Dundalk. That Queen Maeve, that old hag, And I said, listen, she offered to buy the bull. She, in good faith, she went over, offered gold, land in Connacht, the friendship of her own upper thighs, and any of her daughters that he had a mind to. And they did. They said, yeah, her cattle dealers went, oh, he was delighted, Mark Darrell, take the bull. Great, he'd have Maeve as best friend and so on, And of course the lads got stinking maggoty drunk because they couldn't go back without the bull, you see. So they were, with relief, they got maggoty drunk, and when they were in their cups, they let it slip. Well, of course, we were going to take the bull anyway. Oh, wasn't funny anymore. The lads took the swords and spears down off the wall and chased them back to Connacht with their tail between their legs and no bull. We couldn't get the bull. They wouldn't give us the bull. Well, that's no problem, says Maeve, I'm going to take it anyway. So she did. She gathered an army and took it. And when the two bulls came together, they killed each other, and then there was no bull. So that's the moral of that story. War is hell.
Thank you. I'll be into you again, Michael, anyways. Thanks.
Great to see you. Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
You don't want to pay any heed to what you hear here. Forget everything.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Thanks.
See you again, Slán. These are absolutely universal themes, The hero's journey test, vision quest. They're known all over the world. And the hero doesn't always succeed. Some of them fail. Black Elk, now, his stuff was quite Black Elk speaks, you know. His story was retold by some American journalist. And he lived through that times, you know, the Battle of the Little Big Horn, the Indian Wars, the final real destruction of the Indian civilization, you know. And he claimed he didn't claim, he said he was given a great, what would we call it? A dream vision. Ashling, we'd call it. He was given a great dream vision. And his dream vision was about the re-empowering of the Indian nations. He was Sioux, you know. And of course, in the end, the white man destroyed them. And he, at the end of his life, he felt his great vision was given to him, but he failed. Everybody fails in the end. Nobody lives forever. For instance, now, Cuchulainn, the story of Cuchulainn. Setanta was Cuchulainn's birth name. His uncle Cullen invited him to this feast where all the warriors would be, and Conor MacNess and so on. And it was a great honour for this young man to be invited to the feast. But of course, he was playing hurley, and it was no great honour to him, he just, you know. But eventually he bethought himself, and off he went from the hurley match with his hurley stick and ball, and approached the dune, Cullen's dune. And of course, Cullen had forgotten about him, and he released the hound, the great wolf dog, and it came baying and howling at him, and he killed it. Great hero, and the uncle was furious and forced him to be Cuchulainn the hound for him until he could raise another hound to guard his foot. You see, when you look at it sideways, you're going to your uncle's farm and his dog comes out growling at you. What are you going to do? Take out your Colt 45 and blast him? You're not going to be very popular. He lost his nerve. He failed the test. You can fail the test too, you know, which we all do half the time. You can fail the test. In the vision quest, a lot of us fail or refuse it. They refuse to face it, you know, run away or whatever. So it's and of course, we love a good story, you know. We're all human, you see. We're all human, and I mean, every civilization goes through that phase of hunter-gatherer, you know, and reliant on nature, you know. And then we all get the notion that we can live without nature. We can tame it. You can grow your grain wherever you want to, you know. It's a myth as much as anything else. When I meant to say to that lad gone out, the Salmon of Wisdom story, the Finn McCool story, it's not just Christianity that changes things. The new pagan culture would change it too, you know. And of course the Celts, or whoever came after the Celts, or whatever way you want to look at it, they became more male. And you can see that in the old stories. The Crave Rua, the Red Branch Knights, offended Macha, the goddess, the horse goddess, and she cursed them for offending her. And the story of the salmon, there's only one salmon. The hero caught it and ate it, and you bugger off. It's gone now. You see, there's a salmon of wisdom in everybody's unconscious, you know, in the well, in the deep pool, and it's available to anybody. All you have to do is ask. But of course, that's not all you have to do. You have to listen too. And of course, most people don't want to know, you know. They'll ask all right, but they won't listen to the answer. That old lassie that asked me about the shilling a gig, she didn't want to know, you know. So I never had any ambition at all. You know, when other fellas wanted to be astrophysicists or engine drivers, no. You see, this was a butcher shop and I was going to be a butcher. I had no interest in it, but I thought that was the way things worked. We're talking now about the 50s, you know. And when I did my leaving in Summerhill, 1957, I got it by that much. That much. There was 45 fellas in the two classes. The A and the B class. And 23 out of the 45 went on to be priests. That's over 50%, and I wasn't much good at maths either. So in those days, I'm making excuses for myself now, you know. In those days, you simply didn't think about it. I mean, I know fellas, their parents told them they were geniuses, and they believed them, you know. John is terribly clever, you know, and they believed them. And being terribly clever is meaningless, you know. I mean, lots of fellas that I knew were clever were gobshites. They couldn't handle themselves. But yeah, so you were going to be what was laid out for you. I was going to be a butcher, and that was that. And I hated it. But then, what's new about that? 90% of the people that I knew hated what they were doing anyway, you know, and just slogged away like a Russian peasant. It's different, but of course it's the same because humans have not changed basically. But we tell ourselves a different story now, you know. And of course that's exactly what we are, storytellers. We tell a story. We dream up reality for ourselves. I mean, I remember the first fuel crisis in the 70s. The world was running out of oil, and so it was getting dearer and dearer, and the last few dribbles of oil shortly now will be coming up from the wells. There was never as much oil, and now there's more oil than is good for us, you know. And but that's what we were told, that's what we believed, and it wasn't even a conscious conspiracy by fellas with plenty of buckets of oil. It was believed. And the myth of money is very strong too, you know. It's exactly like religion. The more people believe in it, the more powerful it becomes, you know. And the trouble with beech is it's so gorgeous, as you don't want to carve any other wood, you know. It's so fine and sharp. A fella told me that he had a tree down in the wind, you know, and I said, sure, we'll go along. I got bits off it, you know, and he said, I told one of my neighbours, he had about an acre or two of a thick little forest, you know, you couldn't actually see into it. It was dense and heavily wooded, you know. So he said, I told him he could go in and cut a tree for firewood, you know. And he might have left some of it lying there, you know. So we went in, and there was this big sycamores can be as nice as beech, you know, if it's tight grained. This big sycamore tree now, I remember it was just sitting there, about 2.5 feet in diameter. Just perfect. He cut it, and it was too big, he didn't bother, he just left it there, and it rotted. The whole tree just left to rot, you know. Of course, he was giving it for nothing, so it meant nothing to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're quite right. I often, driving past a stand of trees, my mouth would be watering. I would know that I have, when I was a youth, I'd be keeping an eye open for fellas that'd be cutting timber, you know, and stop the car and get out and get a bit of timber off them. Half the time you wouldn't even have to pay for it, you know. Yeah, once these things are indoors, they're practically immortal, you know. Now, they don't last any length outdoors, but once they're indoors, that one's 1968 now, you know, and they really improve. And especially strangely enough, the smaller ones, because they're constantly handled. Now, a big, huge one, which I don't do anymore, but a really big one, that'd be a sort of an architectural thing sitting in the corner. That wouldn't get handled. It might get dried up enough, but any of these that are handled, they're like tools, you know. They pick up the oils from your hand. Could last forever, you know. Oh yeah, they will. They'll outlast me, all right. Oh, I've taken the blooming thing off.
Oh,
I forgot. Take it. It was only a few minutes ago.
That's all right.
Only a few minutes ago, and it could have been recorded. I forgot all about it. I was getting hot. It's a warm, much warmer today. I have too much clothes on me.
Thank you so much.
There you go. You're most welcome. You don't inhibit me one bit. That gorgeous lassie that was in. I know who she is. I'm hopeless when it comes to.
Sure, you have so many people coming into you.
So many of them coming in, you know.
Yeah.
And the wife says, no, that's no excuse. You should know your customers. You should know people that come in. And she's worse than me. Far worse than me. If we're walking along the road, she says, who's this woman coming towards us? I said, for fuck's sake. We met her 3 or 4 times in the last week. She never knows anybody. You know, I have a wee. Yeah. I had an epiphany. I suddenly, after 22 years, I suddenly realised. It always reminds me of Val Doonican, the singer, you know. He was on the Late Late Show or something. He said, I was an overnight success. It took me 14 years. So I suddenly realised that I'd have to do it in some more durable material. The wife told me I should be carving stone, but I'd never have got around to it, you know. And it's another thing too is it's not healthy. Stone, you know, you have to be wearing masks and everything like that. I had an Eskimo lad in here who actually did these Eskimo carvings, you know. They're fantastic stuff because they're almost done in the dark, you know, out of soapstone. And they're you know, they're done by feel. But he had to stop. His lungs started to get silicosis, you know.